I really didn't think I was going to have to do this. I think a long time ago, I actually did do a little small video about Monique, but it was years ago, really, really small on the channel. It might still be up. You might be able to find it. But nonetheless, I think this kind of confirms a little bit of what I already felt and what I thought about her. Like why I always think it's weird for people to praise themselves, salute themselves, and expect for people to hold them in a high esteem. I think that's something you should just earn, and people should just praise you for who you are, and what you stand on. And I don't think that you should be able to dictate how people go about doing that. But nonetheless, I think that she is very self-centered. But let me give you guys a disclaimer about my content before I say anything that might sound like it's out of line. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. I honestly don't believe there are many people out there that can actually handle the truth. But let me tell you guys a little bit of truth, and thank you to the Shade Room. I rarely ever pick up an article from Shade Room, but this time I had to because I'm going to borrow some of what they've written here, but I do want to give them credit. I have never heard a single funny Monique joke, and I've been watching her since way in her heyday, like back in the big Monique days, and we'll get into her size also here in a little bit, because I think she is a big, no pun intended, hypocrite. Because for her to sit there for the longest time when she was, let me see if I can get it up on the screen for you so you guys can see exactly what I mean. When Monique was walking around big and proud this size. Y'all remember this, Monique? Y'all remember that? Do y'all remember this Monique? When she was big, large, and boisterous. And that was her thing. That was her thing. She owned that. Right? Y'all remember the Monique that used to be over here on the left-hand side of the screen? Yes, that was Monique, who eventually turned into this person on the right-hand side of the screen. So I guess her praising big women, showing big women love, and all of that good stuff just wasn't good enough for her. And then she tried her best to be a skinny girl while telling the rest of the women that were overweight that it's okay to be overweight, but why she's trying to change and become something different. Why is being overweight a bad thing? Because it's unhealthy. It leads to a short lifespan. It means you can't breathe correctly. It means your arteries are getting clogged up. It's harder to find clothes. You smell worse. Toxins and no energy and all kinds of bad things happen. That's why you would actually want to change that. To be obese and unhealthy and high blood pressure is not a good thing, and it never has been and it never will be. But live your life. If you're happy having a short lifespan, then by all means. Black folks with hypertension and black people die at a high rate of heart disease more than any other race. Let's talk about this article from Shade Room. Last week, Monique and her son, by the name of Shalon, Shalon, took to social media several times to address the current status of their relationship. Monique's husband, by the name of Sidney Hicks, even stepped in at one point. And I just think this is a situation where he should have just not been in this business, because this was a long-standing thing, and now this young man is a grown man. And that's just something I think that they need to work out, and he needs to stay out of that business. But nonetheless, just when the family rift seemed to subside on social media, a video surfaced of Monique going in on her son. This time, the longtime actress was airing out her thoughts at a recent comedy show, and I'm going to show you guys that video. In the viral clip, The comedian explained that she's head on about addressing her issues. Then she recalled meeting an older woman, which I have my thoughts on this. She recalled meeting an older woman while traveling through a New Jersey airport and her reaction to Monique and Shalon's mother and son dispute. Monique said that she had just seen one of Shalon's TikTok videos. And is this it? And when you see your child that you had sex for, and you see and they quote, your goddamn child get on the goddamn internet and tell people shit you're not, and you're supposed to take that shit in stride. Then came the part about the older woman's feedback. She said, F-U-C-K that nigga. Now, when an elderly person tells you F that nigga, she said, you've been taking care of that nigga all his MF in life. She said, Monique, I'm 80 years old and I got a son 60 years old. And every time that nigga don't get what he wants, he still tells me how I effed up when he was 10 years old. F that in. First of all, Monique, if we were to believe that story were true, and most comedians are storytellers, story writers, and sometimes they make up things that never happen. Steve Harvey, excuse me. They make up things that they've been through that they actually didn't go through and tell it as if trying to present a joke as if it's supposed to be funny. Two things about that aren't funny. First and foremost, that would be absolutely disgusting if an 80-year-old woman were speaking that way. I think that would speak to how bad our community is if we have 80-year-old women speaking that way, number one. And number two, if that's the way you feel about your own flesh and blood, then I think as a parent, and me being a parent and having a child that's almost an adult, if you feel that way about your child, then that means that you're a shitty parent. You did a horrible job raising your child, and that you need to look at yourself. I think that means that you're a bad parent if you have to say that about your child. Regardless, win, lose, or draw, however they turn out, you should never feel that way, and you should never say those kind of things, let alone making a joke out of it. I think that's the time that you have to do some self-reflection. But again, I think she's self-absorbed. She absorbed herself, which is why she's not as big as she used to be. But nonetheless, I think that presents a much, much deeper problem. And the fact that I also believe that story is flat out BS. I don't think it ever happened. I think that that's just truly how she felt. And she wanted to say F her son in front of the whole world and then use the guise of an old random woman talking this disgustingly in an airport. I think that's total BS. I think it's a lie. I think she made that up. Let me show you the video and I want you to hear it for yourself. And I want y'all to tell me what y'all think. Let's get into this. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. I want y'all to listen to this video and tell me if y'all believe that there was some old woman at an airport, and I'm assuming a black woman, considering how many times she used the N-word, I'm assuming this was a black elder woman. How many of y'all believe that that's what happened? I want y'all to hear this. And of course, the audio is bad, but you can pretty much hear what happened. Here we go.
I apologize if I've done something wrong, but I ain't no bitch that's gonna back up from a motherfucking problem. I'm gonna walk straight to that motherfucker and I'm gonna deal with that shit. So today I'm coming through the airport in Newark, New Jersey. It's the realest niggas I've ever met from Newark, New Jersey. I'm coming through that motherfucking airport and I done just seen this motherfucking TikTok of my goddamn son. Had I known that nigga was going to do a TikTok the day I brought him home, I'm gonna let y'all take that one.
Sorry.
And when you see your child that you fuck for, I fucked for that nigga, not another bitch, it was me. And you see your motherfucking child go on a goddamn internet and tell people all the fuck that you're not.
Oh, fuck that
and you just
little
supposed to
baby,
take that shit in stride. And I'm taking that shit in stride. And I'm walking through the motherfucking Newark airport and this elderly woman comes up to me. She said, Monique. I said, ma'am. Because I'm a respectful bitch, baby. I'm gonna respect this bitch. She old. She said, let me talk to you for a minute. So I had prepared myself for this old woman to tell me how fucked up I was. I prepared myself to be respectful, but to check a bitch if I had to. I prepared myself to listen. She said, listen, my grandbaby called me and told me to watch this goddamn TikTok of your son. And I watched that shit. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, I want to tell you something. I said, ma'am. She said, fuck that nigga. I said, oh, bitch, fuck that nigga.
That part.
And when the elderly people tell you, fuck that nigga, you ain't fuck that nigga. She said, you've been taking care of that nigga all his motherfucking life. She said, Monique, I'm 80 years old, and I got a son 60 years old. And every time that nigga don't get what he want, he still tell me how fucked up I was when he was 10 years old. Fuck that nigga. Yes, ma'am? She said, I want to tell you something. I said, ma'am.
I'm going to let this play out, and y'all let me know when y'all start to laugh and kiki and ha-ha. I've watched plenty of Monique stand-up shows, and I have never laughed one time. Where's the joke?
She said, fuck that nigga. I said, oh, bitch, fuck that nigga.
That part.
And when the elderly people tell you, fuck that nigga, you ain't fuck that nigga. She said, you've been taking care of that nigga all his motherfucking life. She said, Monique, I'm 80 years old, and I got a son 60 years old. And every time that nigga don't get what he want, he still tell me how fucked up I was when he was 10 years old. Fuck that nigga. Fuck them kids, bitch.
Word. They grown now.
And she said to me, she said, see, when I was a younger woman, Monique, I had to work too, goddammit. She said, and this is Black History Month, and I had to do a job that don't nobody talk about. When they was out there in that civil rights march fighting and shit, I had a job to do. She said, I was one of the hoes of the civil rights movement. I said, bitch, I'm not playing with you. She said, somebody had to keep them niggas drained. I apologize if I've done something wrong.
That's supposed to be a stand-up act? And people are paying to hear that? Look, I'm going to tell y'all like this. If people are entertained by that, then by all means, continue to keep paying. But I think that's actually the true definition of who Monique is. Like in the movie Precious, if y'all ain't seen Precious, go see Precious. I think that that's who she actually is in real life. And I think that that's how she behaved to her son. And you'd also have to think that why would you have a son and not and be a deadbeat mother? Why would you not want to take care of your son? Hashtag babies for benefits. Regardless of whether it be Section 8 food stamps, you're going through a hard time, or you thinking that somebody's going to love you because now you're a woman, now you're a mother, now you feel like you're a real woman now that you have kids. Did you do it for a man? Did you do it for, what was the purpose? If this young man, he's a young man, is telling you that he has trauma because you abandoned him, I think he has every right to speak on that permanently. Because you should never be able to live that down. You should never be able to live that down. And to just sit there and be like, you grown now it doesn't matter. I want y'all to think about all of the childhood victims out there, which is why I'm doing this video. Before y'all start to defend her and before you start to say what she did was okay, just because you feel like it's Monique and it's got to be okay because it's Monique, because she's made herself into this figure and made people believe that she is this infallible figure, which is how she behaves. Nobody can ever tell her anything that she does is right or wrong. Matter of fact, y'all remember whenever she was supposed to go out and go promote that movie and she didn't because she didn't want to go work for free? Here's the cold part about that. Here's the cold part about promotion. I don't know if you guys have ever done promotion in the street before. I actually have. I used to have a street team. I actually used to go out and promote clubs and parties and things like that. In order for me to get paid at the end of the night at the club, guess what I had to do? I had to make sure and get people in the door. How did I make sure and get people in the door? I had to walk around with flyers. How did I get flyers? I had to create flyers. I had to pay for flyers. I had to get the flyers cut. I had to get them sectioned off. I had to pass them out. On foot, go to store to store to store, to place to place to place, to car wash to car wash to car wash to car wash, meeting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people just to hope to get 100 people in the building, then work that whole night in hopes of getting paid afterwards. What am I saying? It's a concept that somebody I believe who is lazy don't understand. You're not working for that $50,000 that you agreed to work for on Precious. That's not what that's for. That's to set you up for your next job. I've said this before and I will say it again because maybe people didn't ever hear my perspective on this. It's to set you up for the paid job, for the job that's coming. They say that you're supposed to work and prepare for the job that you want, not the job that you have. That's the job she had. And guess what? The more promotion that they do for this very, very low budget movie and blow it up and make it bigger and bigger and bigger, now they will offer you a bigger part the more that they see that you promote this thing that is now something you could call a success. They see you are the face of it. They see you around the world. They say they take care of your food and hotel and travel expenses and all of that. Well, guess what I would have did? I would have been out and about promoting my movie, my work of art that I agreed to a certain small price in order to do this movie. I think that's a mentality of a person that don't have it all together. This woman is pushing 60 freaking years old. Maybe she's already over 60 years old, and she ain't learned a fucking thing since she had her son. Nothing. Monique has learned absolutely nothing except that people out there, because she's popular, are still going to continue to coddle her, and she's basically a grown-ass child. Telling y'all it's okay to be fat while all in all trying to get skinny. Isn't that a hypocrite? Telling y'all how good of a mother and a wife that she is while abandoning her son. Huh? And then turn around and then publicly saying, screw him, he's grown now. What if you had a parent who sexually assaulted their kids and now those kids are grown? Should those kids just get over it? Well, that happened when you were 10 or 9 years old, little Sally. Get over it. If somebody almost murdered their child, caused their death, starved them, but they survived it, when they get grown, they should just get over that. They should just get over that trauma. When you speak death on a person and talk to them crazy and not show them love and respect as kids, they're just supposed to just get over that. And now they're supposed to go on with their life and be productive citizens. Then what is this mental anguish, this thing that we have when people grow up with these traumas and then they pass those traumas in the relationship that they're in and then they end up passing that to their kids. So it's okay whenever it's somebody that you like that behaves that way. I'm just confused about people's real perspective on this because they can't look any deeper than the surface. They're just scratching the surface and just saying throw the rest of it out the window. But that's my opinion. I think that she's a horrible person. I think that her husband is an enabler. And I think that at some point she needs to have her come to Jesus meeting before her time on this earth is over. Because at that point, there is no fixing it. But nonetheless, I pray for her son, because I understand that he has trauma, and that's why we're the advocates for children. Even when they become adults, that doesn't mean that their childhood traumas go away and now it's all good. Money doesn't fix that. Fame doesn't fix that. And you telling them to kiss your rear end doesn't fix that either. Thank you guys so much for listening to this. For those who have an open mind and an open heart, thank you for hearing my words. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. AFC, holla at y'all. Peace.